What's up, guys? On today's episode, we have a very special car here in the shop that we're gonna be creating a custom titanium exhaust for. So what we have here is a 2008 Koenigsegg CCX. The custom titanium exhaust, which we're gonna be rebuilding because we've had some failures here through the weld process. So we're gonna get this thing hooked up with a beautiful new titanium exhaust on it so we don't have any more failure points with the exhaust system on this car. What's up, guys? It's Chef Ray here with Super Performance Fab, featured guest host with Weld.com. All right, let's take a look at the egg. Oh my goodness, my eyes are bleeding. What am I looking at? It's worse than I thought. We're missing a whole piece here. There's broken welds everywhere. What did they do? This is a Koenigsegg. How can you execute something like this on such a car? My goodness gracious. They even welded the factory bezel. Man, don't worry, Jeff's here. We'll get you taken care of. We're gonna make you feel like $1 million again. $3 million, that is. This thing at one point was the fastest production street legal car on the market. It has a 4.8 liter twin supercharged engine. It makes about 870 horsepower, top speed at around 250 miles an hour. It also has a 6-speed manual transmission. This car is from 2008, so it is roughly 20 years old now. Very old technology, but still a very relevant car with a big price tag. So I'm gonna go through and show you what we're gonna do to get this thing hooked up and looking right and sounding amazing again. So today we're gonna be utilizing the trusty old Everlast Power TIG 210 EXT. We're gonna be welding the 3-inch stainless steel mid pipe. We got the bellow to weld to it and the V-band as well. I'm gonna turn it up to 60 amps. That'll be sufficient for both of the welds. We'll turn our post flow up a couple of seconds, keep her cool, and that'll be good. So let's get at it. I cut off the old V-band. I welded on the stainless bellow here and a new V-band assembly. The male always flows into the female, so you don't have any exhaust leaks with the way that the flow transition is between the two V-band ferrules there. Now I also have a weld right here where once I got this set into place, I wanted both of these V-bands in the same location. So by measuring off of the plates back to the V-bands here, I knew how much material I needed to take out here. So when I put this in here, I'll set my laser up, get these all leveled out on the same degree, the same height and everything. So when I build off of this, I have a square base essentially, or a leveled base that I'm starting from. I don't have to add a different length pup piece or a pup piece in one side as opposed to the other. So we're gonna go ahead and take this one, get it mounted, and then from there we're able to build the exhaust system out. But we're also going to have these sent out and get them Cerakoted to match the rest of the exhaust on the car that's already Cerakoted black. So these will get to go black, and then from here back will all be polished titanium. So now we got the mid pipes installed. As you can see, I got my laser level set up. What I'm going to do is I take my ruler and then I set it on here, and then I can measure up from the V-band flanges to the laser level, and then also using my degree finder to make sure that each of them are level. And now we have a good starting point to start building the exhaust. But first, we got to get this tip bezel started so we have a place to build to. So if we don't have a destination for this stuff to go to, I'm pretty much just building this stuff into the dark. So I'm going to go ahead and get this taken care of so we can get those parts water jetted. Once we get that in there, then we can start piping this thing in. So this is the factory tip bezel. Bolts in right here. When they built that other exhaust, they welded this in here and put 2 holes in it for the exhaust, as you can see. So what we're gonna do now, because we're gonna retain the factory tip bezel again, we're gonna eliminate the 2 holes. I'm gonna go through, clean this black powder off, and we'll get this hole cut. And then from there, we'll be able to build the titanium tip bezel out of our cardboard template, and then we'll get that stuff water jetted. So first, we're gonna start by getting this powder off of here, laying out where we're gonna make this cut, and get this cut. Getting the long sleeves on, got gloves. I got the part set up here with my clamp. I got a piece underneath of it just to be able to hold it a little better. we're gonna use the 3M paint stripping wheels. I find these very useful for removing paint, powder, rust, things of that nature. It's not as abrasive as a flap disc or whatever on your 4.5-inch grinder. This will just remove the finish on it and not embed the material at all, grinding, gouging. So this is simply on the high-speed drill, gonna remove our coating. They used a lot of powder coat on this. So I got the spot where I'm gonna lay the cutout cleaned up here. You're probably wondering how I got to this spot. Well, I went from the inside and looked at where they had the piece welded in here. And then by that, it gave me the idea of where the actual weld is in here. Now that I've actually stripped the powder off of it, you can actually see the weld profile in the base metal there. I can see it through here, around the corner. And we're gonna go through and do straight lines on all these edges. And then I have my template with my different size circle radiuses. And we'll come through and lay out some nice radiuses in the corners. We'll get some holes poked in here and then cut this thing out. Probably with the air saw would be the cleanest cut to be able to get this. And then we'll leave a little bit on there so we can clean it back to that line and have a nice finish on there. Flapper wheel here. We'll get it cleaned up and then probably put the burr bit on there and just take down some of that heavy edging on the inside there. Now instead of the two holes, that whole trapezoid shape will be the actual exhaust tip. It doesn't point straight out. Everything's coming in on this downward angle. So when this thing is breathing fire, it's blowing it down. It looks super cool. I love the exhaust on these cars. All right, so after further review of the play, after looking at the pictures online of the factory exhaust bezel here, it does have a lip on the inside. I'll take this and lay it face down on my template paper for the actual tip bezel that we're gonna be building, and that way I have a definitive shape of what to go by, and then I can scale that in a little bit to build the tip to those parameters. And then out of the template, we'll build the whole tip essentially in a 3D model and then take all those parts, lay them out flat, scan them, then we'll have them water jetted. From there, we can bend them, do what we need, get that tip built, weld it out, ground and finish for the final assembly, because then we'll have the part to be able to build the rest of the exhaust too. And then I'm just gonna be doing a bunch of template layout, trying to get that tip built. So let's get at it. I cut this piece already and I've already made one of the bends. I'm gonna take you through the process on how I made this bend here, because this is titanium. It is 2 millimeters thick, so it is pretty thick material. It's not that thin, so it doesn't bend very easily. I went ahead and laid this out on this bench so I don't have to walk back and forth. Also, I have this piece of 3/4 inch 4130 chromoly tube, and it fits a tight radius inside of here. So I'm gonna use this and we'll be able to actually fit the piece in here and then clamp it down and then use the brake to bring it up around that radius. So this should be about where the bend should start according to my template. I started with this one out a little bit. It's about an 1/8 inch away from where it needs to start. So now I can take that and bring it back a little bit. So it'll go like that, and then the exhaust will come down on it. So it'll have a hole there, and then the exhaust will be flat plated with bolt holes in it. The exhaust comes in and then you bolt it together. Over the years, them putting different exhaust systems on the car, they've misplaced this piece. So now we're having to build it from scratch. So this is a 3D printed design of what this tip will almost look like. I'm not gonna have this hard edge here because when you look inside of it, you'll see that. I kind of want to restore the factory look and it's actually curved in there. So essentially, if we were to had cut this out about like there, and then that was the radius, and then it'll kind of have a weird fit to that edge there. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim it down to the cut like such, and then that'll allow me to bend the other piece and make it conform and meet how I want it. So now I can take this and I can use the paper template to get that radius and get a template for that piece and trim it down so then I don't have to have as much material that I'm working with. So we got the top piece of the tip taped here. We have the template for the bottom side cut out. It fits really well. It'll make this piece a lot easier to bend and form and get in place to make this fit. So I'm gonna trace it on my piece of titanium here. We're gonna go to the bandsaw, get it cut out, then we'll start to make that radius and get this thing fit up and weld it out. Trying to pull the piece down, you can see it's starting to lay over real nice and have a nice curve in there. Oh yeah, looks good. I can see it's meeting that face of the other plate in there really nice now. So we got it all laid out here. We're gonna do two 2.5 inch hole saw cuts, then we'll make 2 straight cuts. 3-inch tubing that dumps into here is gonna be ovaled a little bit. That's why we're going with a 2.5 inch hole. I got the Everlast Power TIG 210 EXT. We're running on DC. I got the machine set at 38 amps, a long post flow of about 12 seconds. I'm utilizing the E3 332 tungsten with the BBW ferric cup. I have the part taped down to the table because I have a purge on it. I don't want this to sugar on the inside or oxidize at all. We got the part taped down to the table. We're gonna weld this thing 100% completely from the outside. Once the outside is completely welded out, I'm going to fit the face ring to it. So this will be the actual face of the tip, and then I'm gonna get this tacked on here and weld it out. Once this is all welded out, I just have the inside seam to weld just a little bit. Now I'm welding this outside tip ring still at about 38 amps. As you can see, there's a little seam on the inside that needs to be welded. So I'm going to have my buddy here hold a back purge on it. It's hard for me to set up a trailing system of some sort. So I'll just stick a ferric cup on the end of the purge hose to allow the argon to shield the back side of it as if I had the piece on a purge. Now that the part is completely welded out, it's time to do the final grind and finish process. I used a drum style barrel sander to ground out the radius of the weld in there. Now we're ready to finish some material We're gonna take these fittings here, take our red 3M Scotch-Brite, we're gonna scuff them up and give them a nice brush finish. It gives it a real consistent look when I do the anodizing. We'll get the solution in there, we'll get the water in there, get the voltage supply hooked up, and start turning some colors. We hook the ground to this piece here. I'll use this to stir it up, get that detergent in the water mixed really good. A little heat can help with the detergent breaking down in the water and also helping the color process. Then I have another piece of titanium to just stick through here. I don't want to put my clip down in the water because when it's doing its chemical process, this is kind of getting deteriorated and breaks down into my water here. And we have a desired color per the customer's request that we're going for. It's a bluish purple hue. It's lower on the spectrum. We're only going to be using 22.5 volts. Put that in there. Before I turn it on, I'm going to unhook my ground there. We'll turn the machine on. As I said, 22.6, so that's what I did my test piece at to try to get the color we're trying to achieve. So if you're ready, yep. Set, go. It's creating a current in there. It'll come back around and this thing will actually get swirling in here. See it turning to gold. See how nice and even the color is across there. Looks super good. I'm going to flip the fitting over, get some of the back side of the heel. I can see the purple coming through the gold here on that outside heel. I believe I've seen it on the inside a little bit already, as you can see. The top side still needs some color. Can really see the purple over there. Need some more over here. See a lot of it in there, still a little bit of gold. Looks pretty good. Now what we'll do is take our distilled water and we'll rinse it off. We'll get all the detergent off of there. That way there's no watermarks left on the piece, and then that is our end result. Nice purple, blue. So I'm going to go ahead and finish brushing out the rest of these fittings, getting all those anodized, and then we're gonna start welding out some fittings. So we got the first piece set up here in the Purge. I'm utilizing the TIG Aesthetics copper chiller block. It has the V-band clamp fit on there, and it allows me to put my Purge in from the side so I can spin my part here nicely. And then I got their TIG Aesthetics 3-inch silicone Purge plug on there as well. Got it at 20 CFM. I'm running 100% straight argon. I'm going to be utilizing the BBW cup from Furic. I have the 332 E3 tungsten. I got some 1.5 millimeter filler rod. I'm gonna go ahead, put a couple of tacks on there, and then we'll start running this thing out. So I'm gonna start right here at this tack. Now when I am doing this, you're gonna see me pausing a lot. The reason why I'm doing that is because I can't go outside of my heat affected zone when welding titanium. I wanna keep this stuff silver, so to do so, I need to stay within my gas coverage. Your gas coverage is half of the diameter of your cup. So I can only move about 3/8 to a half an inch at a time, and then I gotta stop. I'll let the gas flow. I have a very long post flow. I think it's set at about 12 seconds. So I'll let it sit for about 10 seconds. Before that gas shuts off, I'll fire up again and continue to move. I can go a pretty good distance before the part starts to heat up, but I really wanna keep that silver color in there. So I'm gonna be moving around quite a bit to try to keep the heat out of the part. The chiller block is gonna help as well, pull some of that heat out of there. Also, the landing down here is gonna hold our argon kinda in the corner, so that should also help with the coverage on this part as well. that concludes the first weld. I got many more to do. They're coming to pick this thing up tomorrow. I got everything laid out, ready to weld. So we're just gonna be spending the next few hours sitting here welding, turning parts over, and getting this thing wrapped up. So I just got done welding the first 2 pipes on the exhaust that are going to collect in the middle. This piece here I got tacked together is going to be the X pipe, or the collector piece. So I have the heel of it here that I'm going to cut out. I have everything laid out in the car on the center line, so I just had this in position. I'm going to go ahead and make this cut, and then that'll allow me to lay the other pipe in there, and then it'll transfer that cut to the other one, and we'll make that same cut transfer. The pipe kind of hooks back in, and this one's going to hook back in, and they're going to kind of do a merge as well in the middle there. So there was the first side that we built. Now here's the second side. And then we'll just lay them together. And then I'll mark that, cut it, and then we can tack and weld this piece together and then fit it to the piece in the car. So I got the piece tacked together here, brushed out, almost ready to anodize. I got one last cut that I want to make, and that is the bottom one here where it goes into the exhaust tip. So I just fit it in here, and then I marked it. So now that I got this marked, I'll draw that line all the way across, cut this excess material off, get the couple little scratches left out of there, and then we'll get it anodized and throw this thing on a purge and get it welded out. Once I got the whole system welded out, I fit the 1K badge on the center of the X pipe and fit the 1/2-inch tubing for the exhaust hanger support as well. Now that we got all this stuff completed, I got it all bolted back into the car, and the Koenigsegg is ready to hit the streets again. Not only does this thing look beautiful, it sounds amazing as well. If you guys like this video, check out other performance videos right here. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.